Alright everyone, Cabara here on a Friday night in the middle of October. It starts to getting really cold and it's a perfect time to buy new plugins and try them out. And so I recently bought a new plugin, a saturation plugin that I will show you at some other point in the future. And I bought it through Plugin Alliance because they had a great discount, and turned out that when I downloaded the plugin, that it came with like roughly 20 free plugins. And in fact, you don't have to buy any plugin to get these. I saw it afterwards because you can just get them through their website. And so if I scroll here, these are 20 free tools, so plugins for different things that you can use. Some of them are effects, some of them you can use for mixing and mastering. And here they are. Those are the products that you will get if you download this bundle. And I thought, so I have no idea what they are doing. And I thought, why not go through each and every of these plugins with you together, record a video, and figure it out together what these plugins are doing and how we can use them. And this is my plan for tonight with you. What I have here is a little deep house type of beat. We can have a listen to it, and then afterwards we will go through each of these plugins here and see how we could use it for a track like this, and maybe do a little review how I like each of these plugins. And this will be super rough. I'm not prepared for this, so I will most likely go back to the website and see the manual and the description of these plugins. But let's see where this is going, and let's first listen to the little song. At this point, mostly I just used some samples from sample packs, so focus is not on the track at the moment. Alright, so I think the best would have been to go through this list here starting at the top, but I don't have them in the right order in my DAW. We will have to see where we can find it on the website. So the first one, it is the Black Distortion 2. So it seems to be like a distortion tool, right? I mean, we have three knobs. One says distortion, filter, and volume. So distortion could be something we could try on the drums, but we can also try it on the bass. Maybe let's start it on the bass. I will move it here on the bass, and we'll solo the bass and play it, and then activate it and play around with the things and see if I can figure it out myself without referring to the manual. So we have to increase the volume to go back to the level from earlier. Okay, I mean, this is a distortion pedal type for maybe a guitar or for a bass. Doesn't really fit this type of sound that I'm going for in this track. Maybe would be good for rock if you have like a bass guitar. Well, I say we skip it. Next one. The next one is called Boom. And we can see it has like, it's a kick drum. So potentially, it is something that could be used to increase and change the sound of the kick drum. So let's see if I'm right with my assumption. I move it to the kick drum and then solo it and see what it does. That's the sound without. Now I activate it. No change. All right, there's boom. Let's see, more boom. Okay, we see also in the waveform here that it adds more bass to it, or it can reduce it. So it seems to be like more like a transient shaper. So then this will probably increase the attack. Not really. Okay. Well, it's sort of like a transient shaper in a sense that increases the boom part of the kick. I'm not really sure what this mode does, low, mid, high. Let's have a look at the website. There's a guy that explains it way better than me because I have no idea about this plugin. So if you're interested, go into the website and see. So they say there are different frequencies. Okay, so the mode chooses the frequency that can be increased through the boom. Okay, let's try this. So I set it to high, I increase the boom, maybe the transient gets stronger. Not really, okay. Okay, if we change the mode, we can hear that it focuses more on a different region within the lower bass drum region. So this is low, mid, and high. Okay, I think we could visualize it using some equalizer. So let's see. This is high, and if I change the mode to lower, this thing here should shift a bit lower. Maybe this thing should shift lower. Let's see. It is very subtle. We cannot really see it, but we can hear it. So yeah, if your kick drum does not have enough boom, you can use boom to give it more boom. But I think since we're in electronic music land, we should not run into this issue too much to have like a kick drum that does not have enough boom. So probably won't use this plugin either. All right, so what's next up? Next up is another effect pedal, chorus. Okay, well, pretty easy to guess what this one is doing. Probably it will be good for the FX piano, so let's use it there. Okay, so this is without it. And now activate it. Okay, it's pretty standard, so with the rate I can increase how quickly the chorus emulation will happen, and then with the depth how much. And it seems like I have a mix knob here in the middle that looks a little bit like a screw. So let's go 100% wet, 100% on everything, just to get it to the extreme and hear what it's doing. A really lo-fi and vibrating type of sound. Not bad, but also very subtle, and it seems to be killing a bit of the lows. I will go into the extremes, 100% mix, and bypass it to see the waveform. And I have the feeling that this gets lower here when I activate it. Definitely it has less weight when the effect plugin is activated. It's not just adding on top to it, it really takes away the weight of the sound I use it on, and therefore I'm not a huge fan of it. Although I like the simplicity of the plugin. Next one is Clean Sweep. Okay, so this might be the most complex one we have seen so far. I have an input gain, then I have this joystick type of knob, basically to set up some envelope or some shape on an equalizer, more to the higher frequency, more to the lower frequency, and then more focused. So like this is like a high cut, low cut. Basically I can change the bell shape of the equalizer. And then I guess this one is making it, this is actually doing a low cut and a high cut, but it also can be controlled through the stick, so it's a little bit redundant. If I don't want to use the knobs and the stick, I can type it in, so let's say 600. Okay, so like in the end, I think it's just an equalizer. It says clean sweep. Maybe because it should be used for sweeping. That would explain why it would have these controls. And I think what I could use it for is like basically what I use the auto filter for on this piano. To illustrate it, I can show it to you how it sounds like without the effects. It's just a piano step, and then I have this to sweep through, like visually you can see it, I sweep through the frequency range to focus on certain sounds, to keep it evolving. And I think the idea with this one is I could manually do it here as well, like this. Okay, let's try this if I can get the same type of sound using this virtual joystick. I put it to the FX piano, I deactivate the other effects. What I try to do is I try to emulate what I automate here with the auto filter with this joystick. This is cool. It sounds really cool. It says clean sweep. It sounds really clean, but I don't always want it to be clean. What does clean mean in this context? You can see here if I deactivate this and go back to the auto filter, I have quite high resonance, and this creates a tonal change in the actual sound source. So if I do this really extreme, this will be super annoying because it changes basically the tone that I'm playing. So if I play a C and put it through this very extreme one, depending on where this frequency is, it could be an F, it could be anything. So this is the opposite of clean, I would say. And then if I do it like this, maybe that is a clean sweep. Sounds similar to this. Okay, it's clean, but I don't want it to be clean. I cannot do this with this really steep at all compared to what I can do in the auto filter. I think I had 63, something like this. Maybe in the live context, this is interesting if you can put this on a MIDI controller and you want it to be clean and not with too much characteristics. It sounds good. Right now I don't have a use for this one. Okay, this next one is another distortion one. It's orange. If I remembered correctly from my guitar playing time, the orange, there are these famous orange amplifiers, often used in like stoner rock and more crunchy type of rock sounds. So I think if I remember, or if I should guess how this sounds like, it will be extremely fuzzy, extremely distorted. And to be honest, let me go over here for a second. Because I have an actual guitar effect, and it looks pretty similar. I hope you can see this. So I have here volume, tone, and sustain. It's a Big Muff, extremely famous for the stoner rock, crunchy type of rock sound. And my guess is it's like a similar emulation to this. So let's see. Probably won't fit what I'm building in this track, but I will put it on the bass guitar. Yeah, I like this sound more than the other distortion. Definitely similar to the Big Muff. Yeah, definitely not gonna use this in like deep house or anything, but if you do dubstep or drum and bass or more heavy bass things, this sounds like a really solid distortion for the bass. So I like the sound very much. It sounds really good as a heavy distortion tool. Yeah. Okay, if we go to the website and see what they write about the plugins we checked out so far, it seems that the black distortion, that was the one I did not like so much, is a classic distortion tool. I think I heard about the red in the context of guitar distortions. Yeah, like I said, I could not really judge it by the sounds that I fed into it. It seems to be a good emulation. Then also the chorus one that I found a little bit too flat seems to be also emulating a classic. They say blue pedal. I know too little about the reference to the actual famous pedal that they are referring to. And then the orange one that we just looked at, yes, my guess was correct. It is for the gnarly grinding sound from crunch, as you mentioned, Kurt Cobain, and it's a cool plugin. And then the clean sweep, yes, I mean, it's they say high pass, low pass filter. For my sound, not enough character to compare to the auto filter, which is more flexible. Okay, going back to the DAW, what's the next one? The next one, I think, is another, yes, it's another distortion one. It says Green Screamer. Again, I'm not writing guitar music. I will put it on the bass because the bass is the closest to the guitar in my track here at the moment. So let's have a listen to it. Ooh. Yeah, I think it distorts less than the orange one. Let's see, what do they write about it? It's the most popular overdrive pedal favorably recreated. Tube Screamer from the 70s. Well, if you're into guitar music and producing guitar music, this is definitely something you know more about than me, and so I will move on and don't take too much time with the guitar pedals. Next one in line, I think we are almost halfway through, is the Master Desk Classic. Let's buy me some time by drinking something. I assume that this one will go on a master chain. Let's see what it does. So I can increase the volume, I can stereo enhance, so I can widen it, I can change the tone. I see how affecting it is, so there must be some compression going on. Yeah, exactly, I can change the compression also to hard. THD, I don't know. And the foundation, I don't know what it means in this context. So let's go here and have a look. Where do we find it? A Master Desk Classic. It's a high-end analog mastering system. 3 easy steps. Okay. First, decide how hard your music will hit the processor chain with the volume. Okay, so if I change the volume, I can see it reacting here. So this must be how much I feed into the compressor. Dynamic range to find a sweet spot. Okay, exactly. You don't want to overcompress it. Then it would be the foundation, the overall tonality. Okay, so I probably to the right is more focus on the highs and left is more on the lows. And then tone, what's the difference to tone? Bright to dark. So it seems like the tone has a similar function than the foundation, but it's less extreme. It's more like fine-tuning it. So if the foundation to put it too high, then you can fine-tune it with the tone to get more high or a little bit less high. Okay, well, TMT, it's US patented. Okay, whatever. So much about it. So let's try it out. I mean, the best is to try these things out and see what they are doing. So I put this one on the master chain before all of these things. And then I play the whole beat. Okay, if I don't change anything, you can see it's already compressing by default. Okay, I'm in the red here. I'm doing 2 crazy things, so it seems it wants me to be in the green, so... But I don't go to the green if I reduce the volume, which is weird. Actually, I have no idea how I can get into the green one here. Honestly, I can hear differences that I expect, but this dynamic range thing is confusing me at this point. So I will go by ear. I can hear a clear difference in the stereo enhancement. I like it. It's subtle without creating artifacts, but I think this foundation and volume makes it's easy to make it sound boomy but at this point, I mean, this is a master plugin, and at this point I did not even have any mix down because I just threw in some loops. So it's hard to judge. I might try this out in a track that I already kind of have mixed and where I'm at the mastering phase, and see if I like this compared to what I usually use, which is Ozone. Alright, the mega single. So this seems to be like a guitar amp. I have 2 modes here, rhythm and lead. So my guess is the rhythm is like the rhythm guitar, so less distorted, and the lead would be more heavily distorted. I will put it on the bass and then we can see what it is doing. Yeah, definitely. This turns my bass line into like a crunch rock guitar almost. Wow, cool. I did not change any of these things, so what do we have? We have somehow everything twice. Does this mean that these knobs only work if I have the rhythm guitar and these if I have the lead guitar? That would make sense. Mega single. Maybe the idea was, I don't know this, right? But maybe this was a guitar amp that you could use instead of pedals, like instead of having one amp, and then if you want to have it more distorted at one part of the song, you kick the pedal and then it distorts. Instead, you have your settings for the rhythm part here, and then you switch it over to the lead. And it could be that for the rhythm you want more presence, and then for the lead you want less. That's why there are 2 knobs, is what I would guess. So this is probably like a remodel of famous historic guitar amp. So let's see what we can find here in the website. they often say like, okay, this is a legendary sound, this and that. I don't get the references. Also seems to be only a demo version. Anyway, what I already saw is it sounds great for guitar, but I'm not in the guitar music business at the moment. Let's see if I can get something interesting from the bass line. Maybe there's a tri-wet knob, but it doesn't look like it. Okay, and with the solo you can choose only one. I don't know, but it sounds like a good distortion, but I don't see me using it in a house track. Oh, this has a couple of knobs that are but still quite small. It's called Metal 2, so probably another guitar distortion tool. Okay, I see a pattern in here. Metal, probably heavy distortion, heavy higher sound type of distortion. Let's do it real quick, put it on the bass loop. Yeah. I mean, it sounds good, but this is like, again, I don't see me using this in the type of house music that I'm producing. If you are more aggressive tech house, bass music or something, this could be a cool distortion tool, I have to say. Yeah. Next one is another master tool. No, it's not a master tool. It's a metering tool. So let's see. We have left and right. We can see some balance, probably balance between the two channels, and then correlation in the audio dimensions. Okay. Peaks and averages. I mean, this is basically like a more complex view of what you have here. I don't know what the blue thing does. Maybe that's the crust factor. So the differences between the peak and the RMS, I think it is. I'm not sure about the definition. It would be a sign of the dynamic range. The dynamic range is not really large in this track because everything here, because I use samples, right? So they tend to be already quite compressed. So of course, then if you add them together, you also get a compressed sound without using much compression. Yeah, I'm not sure what I can get out of this. I think a standard in stereo. Those are just settings of what will be displayed here. The things that I need to see when I adjust the levels of tracks is for me already visible here in the standard meters by Ableton. Not gonna add this to anything. All right, another distortion tool or an effect tool. It's a red one. Doesn't seem to be a distortion tool because they have like speed. No idea. I will put it on the bass and see what it does. Maybe it's compressing the sound, and here I can decide how much it should be compressed, and then the speed is the reaction to the compression. So maybe like the release? No idea. But thankfully they have this great website. They say it is an optical compressor. They say, okay, makeup gain is the density and the speed creates the response. So I don't know the original one, but for me, I'm not used to these type of settings for a compressor, and it would be problematic for me, and I don't see visually what's happening, so it would be problematic for me to use it in my production. But maybe you can get some random settings, like change it and see what it does, and maybe you discover something you like that you would not have gotten with standard compressor tools. Okay, 6 more plugins. This one is called Rock Rack. Do I regret doing this video? I'm not sure. I mean, a lot of these plugins seem to be coming for the rock music and the more traditional type of genres. But yeah, well, now I'm in the middle. I will finish this one up and maybe I can find something interesting that I can actually use. So this seems to be an amp emulation with lots of settings. Lots of settings. So is it a cabinet setting? Because 2.12 orange, those were these famous guitar amps. And it's crunchy. Okay, let's put it on the bass. Okay, that's the thing. So usually I could, or if I have the full version, I could emulate other famous guitar amps here, but I don't have that. It seems it says, okay, this is like a free preset selector, so I cannot oh, okay, no, it just shows me that I could use them if I pay for it, but I can't. Let's see what the website says. Rock Rack Player, 26 amazing guitar and bass sounds built from 8 different amps. It's totally free. Okay, doesn't seem to let me change things. It does. Okay, so these are the different amps. That's the orange one, heavily distorted. I don't know, this is too much text, I don't want to read it, but it seems like once I change anything here in the knobs, it says buy the full version, so whatever. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's similar to the one that Native Instruments has, but the guitar rack, but yeah. I don't see the use of it in this production. Then next one. What is this? Okay, I have 2 speakers. I can set the gain for the speakers. I can then focus on the left or the right speaker with this solo pan. Mono maker. Okay, I think I get it. So what you could use this for is, like, let's say you do a mix and you're happy with the mix, but you don't know how it sounds in mono, then probably you can just click the mono maker and everything under 60 Hertz is mono. But to be honest, the utility tool that is called bass mono, and it does the same thing. You select from which frequency on it should be mono, and everything above is in stereo. The spread then probably is increasing the width in the stereo field. But here I cannot select from which frequency on, or maybe it's after the mono maker frequency. I would prefer the tool. It's also a free one that's called Wider, because here it's a quite simple one. I can say low pass, so underneath or below this frequency cutoff, it is not increasing the frequency range, and then I can just say how much it should, which I can do by ear, also to a very extreme setting. Well, it looks good, but yeah, I think it's coming from more of the old school ways of mixing in the studio, where you have different speakers and then test it out there. But there's probably better virtualization tools, like SonarWorks, for example. It's supposed to be really good, but also not cheap or not free like this one. So yeah. Another one that says solo. Okay, I can solo the left speaker, the right speaker, only the mids and only the sides. So this could be cool to, again, to see how the mix would sound like in different settings. For example, in a club, you often don't have stereo speakers. So some people say it should sound good in mono if you want the track to be played in the club. I put this on the master chain and then we can click through it. Okay, weird, because left, but I can hear it on the left and the right. This is weird. So the side, okay, it's quite obvious that it only shows the signals that are on the side, because you can see that it's getting more quiet. Because most sounds are rather in the center. But what the left and right solo does, not what I expect. So I will consult the website. Oh, this is a cool plugin I used like 15 years ago. Nice. I don't know if it still exists. Okay, what do they say? I mean, it's still strange because the mid and the side, okay, that seems to work. The other stuff as well. But the left channel solo and the right channel solo, I don't know about you, but I heard it. And you can also see it here in the visualizer. It's not really just playing it on the left or the right, the visualization, and see. No, you can see it here in the meter. If I do right, it's still on the left. So I don't know. So I will move on. Next one. Sub filter. So probably a low pass, high pass filter. Okay. Yeah, obviously that's just feeding into the plugin. And then okay, I get it. So what will probably happening is it will sweep similar to the auto filter through the frequency. And the idea is to set it at a point where it has more punch. So maybe instead of the bass, I put it on the kick. And then I think with here, you can change the shape of the resonance there. And the low end probably is like a low shelf filter. So I will put this instead of the bass, I will put it on the kick. And I will put out the visualizer. So if I put it on 90 Hertz, you see that everything is here actually around this 80-90 Hertz. And if I now put it lower, this whole thing will shift to the left. So this might be a better boom plugin. He has good punch, I would say, just for the moment. And then this would bring back the low end. Let's do it all in extreme. Yeah, and you can hear here it distorts more, but this has nothing to do with the plugin, but the master limiter is going 16 decibels in compensation, so good I have it on. Maybe my ears would have been gone otherwise. This seems really powerful, so probably you need to be very careful with setting it up, but it then could be a replacement to some visual equalizer, but I will prefer the visual equalizer. What I mean is I could do the same thing, let's say in EQ8 by sweeping through here and see where it gets more punch, and then maybe do it a little bit more extreme or less extreme. I think that is what the resonance shape does. The tight punch, this one is like a frequency sweep through it. And then the low end might be in what I suspect a low shelf, so I would put back some lows to it. Okay, last two plugins. So this one will be quick. This is a tuner. I already had a tuner here, the Ableton stock tuner on my bass, because I wanted to set it up in a way that it is hitting the same notes as my FX piano, which I think is C sharp, F sharp. Okay. So I used the tuner to see where the original one is in, and then I shifted it by one semitone up because it was an F and now it's an F sharp. Let's see if I could have done it also with this tuner here. Yeah, seems quite good. I think the normal tuner by Ableton is not so responsive. This one looks more modern, but whatever works, right? It's a tuner. You can use it to shift your samples in the right scale and the right tone that you want, or to tune your guitar. So it seems to be the guitar people are the main customers of these plugins. This brings us to the last one. Ooh, I'm excited. Oh no, it's another overdrive pedal, the yellow drive. Again, very simple. I have the level that feeds into it. I have the drive is probably how much it is distorting, and then the tone is like I want to shift it more to the highs or more to the lows. Again, I have no guitar. The closest I have is the bass loop. It pretty much gets rid of the whole lows. Yeah, I mean, if you want to have a sound that is really appears more to be higher noisy than, let's say, the orange pedal, then this might be good, but I mean, you lose a lot of the punch part. So I don't know where you would use it, definitely not in-house. And unfortunately, this is the end of this video. So let's go back to the overview and see what my summary of this is. I cannot really judge the quality of these plugins because they are not meant for the type of music that I'm working on. So it's a little bit unfair. I can only say what I find interesting in my context. So if I go through this, what I found interesting is the clean sweep, because you might be able with a controller, if you have like a joystick controller, to do this in a live setting. Again, but I'm a big fan of automation, and be it by hand or be it through an LFO or something. And the new auto filter by Ableton Live is like really great. So for me, it's more flexible than this, and I would choose the auto filter over this one for my production. The master desk could be cool. I could not really test it because this track is not even mixed. So how can I like test it on the master phase? The effect pedals, if I should choose one effect pedal, I think I like the orange one the most. The orange one was, I like the orange one the most. The Metal 2 was also quite interesting because they are more on the heavy, side, but without losing the weight of the sound, unlike the yellow one that we just heard. Then there were more complex ones, like the Mega Single and the Rock Rack. I don't know, too complex for me, and it seems that some of these things you have to pay for, so we stopped it. And then the other category of tools were like mixing meters, mixing plugins. And then the other thing is like maybe the sub filter could be good if you don't want to focus, like if you want to replace your equalizer for getting some punch from the kick and the bass. If you don't want to focus too much on the visual aspect, you could play around with these knobs and go by ears. And sometimes that might be a good thing if you can find yourself hung up too much on the visual part of mixing or sound creation. So those would be then maybe my top ones. So let's say if I put them in an order, number 1 would be the clean sweep, followed by the distortion, the orange distortion tool, and then the opto pedal for dialing in some more punch. All right, I hope this was still helpful for you, and let me know if you like this type of video and if I should do more of these longer form let's figure it out together type of videos. If so, then leave a comment and follow me and subscribe, and thank you for your time and have fun producing your own music, and talk to you soon.